Our next guest runs the top wine auction house in the world. He is the CEO of Acker, Merrill & Condit. This year, he has auctioned off more than $100 million, the first wine house to do so. John Capon joining me, just back from Hong Kong, recently back from Hong Kong. So you can't whine about that revenue, right? Get it, wine. John, you're going to leave now, aren't you? All right, well, it's been a pretty crazy year for stock market investors, a lot of other kind of investors, but obviously based on what you're seeing, not so much for wine investors. It's been a great year, a record year.
Absolutely.
Why is that?
Well, you know, China and Asia has a big part to do with it. I mean, the market there is growing rapidly and has really kind of taken over. Hong Kong has become the world's leading wine hub now when it comes to fine and rare wines, passing New York for the first time in 2010 and kind of increasing the distance here in 2011.
Do you see a serious increase in knowledge base? We did one story here at Bloomberg. It was a quirky story, but it was actually about some people in China adding Coca-Cola and sugar to some of the most famous Bordeaux. I mean, does that really happen, or is that just kind of urban legends?
Not in my circles. I've heard the legends as well, but you know, the Chinese collectors are very sophisticated. I mean, many of them are internationally savvy and sophisticated.
Have traveled, have lived all over.
Of course, you know, go all over the world and really have a taste for the best of the best, and wine is just one of those categories that really stimulates and excites people's passion, and traditionally it's proven to be one of the best investments of the past 25 years as well.
I want to ask you too, there was a blind wine tasting competition in Beijing yesterday. 5 Bordeaux, 5 wine from China, served to 10 French judges, 10 Chinese judges, and the top 4 were Chinese. Have you tried Chinese wine?
I've had a couple. There's some decent wines. It certainly surprises me to hear those results. You know, French wines really dominate the fine wine market. They probably make up about 90% of the market, and there certainly are great wines made all around the world, but it really is a French world when it comes to fine and rare.
So how much of the revenue that you're seeing is actually from industry, the hospitality trade? How much is from individual investors? How much is for some other category that I'm not naming?
Well, the trade's an important segment of the market. I mean, certainly 20 to 30% of any given sale might go to somebody who then resells the wine or is holding the wine for a limited period of time to resell. What we would call trade people actually in the business of selling wine. So some people, you know, the auction is a complex transaction. You get a catalog, it's 300 pages long, you have 2 weeks to make up your mind, you may win, you may not win. Some people prefer the retail transaction, and these people kind of play off that difference in the market.
Are you selling or seeing more sales, larger volume of moderately priced wine, or are you seeing demand just in this super niche, high end by a few very powerful, more than a few, but a few powerful investors who really want to own some famous labels?
Well, it's interesting. The best of the best really dominates the market, that top end, you know, above $250. And then the other segment is kind of like below 40, everyday drinking. People are looking for value. That kind of middle tier is sometimes lost in the middle. There's so many wines coming out that are $100 a bottle, don't necessarily have a track record. The market's a little hesitant in that category.
John, I'm just curious. I mean, you've built up this business, including this surpassing this $100 million mark in 13 years. And I mean, you've had some pretty heavy-hitting competitors, Christie's, Sotheby's, other auction houses that even specialize in wine. Are you surprised at all, even by your own success? That's pretty fast.
It's been quite a ride. I've worked awfully hard and drank a lot harder, so to speak. So, you know, a lot of great people. Wine is a magical business. You get to meet so many different people from all over the world, and no matter who they are or what they do, you put them together over a great bottle of wine, and more often than not, they become friends.
What advice would you give to someone who doesn't have any bottles for investment purposes? Just as you said, the 40 drinkers, sort of $40 a bottle of wine for consumption purposes only. How much money do you think you need to realistically start a respectable investment collection? Is it $6,000, $7,000, or I guess it just depends?
It really depends. I mean, you could ask the same question as somebody investing in stocks. Well, how much money do you think is really a successful portfolio? I mean, you could certainly have one special bottle and hold it for a period of time, make a nice return off it, and so it all depends. Just like anything else, obviously, the more you scale it up, the more potential for a greater return.
Do you see wine as a good investment?
It's a great investment. I mean, historically, it's been one of the best investments on par with gold and other items over the past 25 years. It's been incredible. Although we're now seeing release prices come out at much more aggressive numbers, so a little bit of that margin has been taken away. But the beautiful thing about wine is that people actually drink it, so there's less bottles every day or every week of some of the world's greatest wines. So it's naturally kind of puts pressure on pricing automatically.
John, thanks so much for stopping by.